All right, first grade, let's go. Wait a minute. First grade? What happened? Where's your stuff? Like I told you, we're traveling this week. You didn't believe me? Hold on. All right, I'll show you what I mean. Here's some things that I have packed. So I brought our first two Cinderella stories that we did. Remember, we went to France and Mexico to learn about these stories. Well, we didn't get to spend a lot of time in those places, so I thought it would be fun to go back and learn a little bit more. Then we have two new Cinderella stories that take us to different places in the world. So I thought we'd travel and check those out too. And I also brought, this big world atlas. Now, I know last year in kindergarten, you learned about the 7 continents, right? You can learn more about those in an atlas, which is a big book of maps and tells you about the world. But I thought, instead of just reading about it and traveling in a book, because it's a little bit hard to see the pages, I thought we'd actually travel to those places. And we'll get to talk to some people who are there or who've lived there or visited there and see awesome pictures from those places. So, do you want to join me? I hope so. So here's what you need. Make sure you have your KVP swag with you so you can represent Kit Bloom. And you also need to make sure you have your passport because you can't leave the country and travel without it. So you need your passport. And then I'm also bringing my favorite notebook and a pencil because even though we are traveling, it's going to be a little bit of a vacation, we still have our exit tickets to do because we're getting ready for 2nd grade coming up so soon. So what are you waiting for? Go pack your stuff. Hurry up so we don't miss our flight. Let's go. Phew, you made it just in time. We're on our first flight. I love traveling, and I'm so excited that I get to bring my favorite first graders with me on these journeys. Ready to know where we're going first? We have already been there briefly because it's where the first Cinderella story came from, which is France. So we're heading back there to learn even more about that country. Now, France is on the continent of Europe, which is here. So you can see it right there in the middle. That's France. Like I said, I know the words and the pictures are hard to see in this big old book, so I'm going to show you in our presentation some closer pictures and tell you more about what we're doing on each stop on our trip. Here we go, ready to travel the world. Now, between today and tomorrow, we're going to go to 4 different places. And as we travel to each place, here is your thinking job. I want you to think, what have I learned today? What's your thinking job? Whisper to your elbow, what have I learned today? Yeah, you're going to learn a lot of information and new things about each place that we go to. So keep that in your head, what sticks, or write it down whenever you learn something, because that's your exit ticket. So your sentence should start with, today I learned that in blank. So in the first blank, today I learned that in wherever place we travel to, and then on the next part, you're going to write in what you learned about that place. That's how you're going to earn that gold medal 2nd grade ready work. 2 thumbs up if you're ready. Let me tell you a little bit more about our destination before we get there. So like I said, we're traveling to France, which is a country in Europe. Europe is the continent, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. In Europe, there are 46 countries with many cities and different languages. Wow. The climate, which is another way of saying the weather or the temperature in Europe, is good for farming because it is mild and rainy. Oh, that's good to know. Italy and France have famous beaches. Italy and France are 2 countries that are in Europe, and it's good to know that they have some famous beaches there. Now, I've been to Europe to a couple different places, but I haven't been to France. But don't worry, I have a friend in France who's going to show us around. So we're going to get there soon, and he's going to tell us and show us even more about France. I'm so excited.
Bonjour tout le monde. My name's Luke. I'm a friend of Miss Miller's, and I live here in France. Miss Miller told me you're learning a little bit about France right now and some of its stories, so I want to take you out and show you around where I live here in Bordeaux. It's very fun to live here. French people love to go out and spend time together, but instead of hanging out at each other's houses, we often go out to cafes instead. Most of the tables are outside so we can enjoy sunshine while talking and laughing for hours. France is really old, and so a lot of the buildings here are really old too. The building I live in was built hundreds of years ago, and there are big churches and cathedrals all over the place. Some of the buildings even look like castles, which makes you feel like you're in some sort of fairy tale. The food here is really tasty too. Everywhere you go, there's lots of shops with different French names that sell different kinds of food. You can go to boulangeries for your baguettes, or fromageries for lots of cheese, or my favorite, patisseries for dessert. Some of the food is a little weird here too, like snails. But I promise it's really, really tasty. The French believe in the joie de vivre, the joy of life. So when they're not at the cafes, they go out to the beaches, spend time with their families, or they go to the movies, like you. Most of all, though, they dance. They love to dance, and especially in public so everyone can join in. We have big dance parties along the river in the summer. I've even seen them dancing in the rain. Miss Miller said that you're reading Cinderella stories right now. I love those stories. They show no matter how hard or scary life can be, you can still always be hopeful. If you're kind to each other and you work hard, you can do anything you want to. There's nothing you can't do. And that's what I would say is most important. Just believe in yourself. Don't be afraid of what other people might think, and be proud of who you are. Stay in school, work hard, so that way one day you'll not only be able to take care of yourself, but you'll be able to help others who might need it too. Help make the world a better place. And, of course, don't be afraid to go dancing in the rain. I'm happy I got to show you a little bit of what France is like. I hope you liked it too. Au revoir et bonne journée.
Wow, wasn't that awesome? We got a real tour of France from someone who's living there. So many cool things. I loved it. I hope you did too. And I hope you learned a lot today. That's what you're going to write for the first part of your exit ticket today. Today, I learned that in France, because that's the first place that we just went to, and you're going to write in what you learned. So you can either write something that I told you before we got there, or you can write something that my friend Luke taught you in the video. Work on that as we're flying to our next destination, because we're not just going to one place today, we're going to another location, and I'm excited. So work on that exit ticket as I get ready to tell you about our next stop. So, you ready to know where we're heading now? Let me show you the Cinderella story that we're gonna read with it to give you a hint. So the story is called Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, an African Tale. So we are on our way to Africa. Now, we actually have been to Africa in one of our stories before. You remember our William story with William Kamkwamba and the windmill? That also took place in Africa. So we're gonna go there and explore and learn even more about it. I'm excited. Check it out. We made it. And welcome to Africa. Here is a map of all the different countries in Africa. There's a lot. Now, I'm really excited to show you around Africa this time because it's actually a place that I've been to. I have been to over here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, this country called Mozambique. Can you say that? So let me show you some pictures and what things were like in Africa. In Africa, there are different land regions, water, climate, plants, and animals. Like even looking at these pictures, you can see a lot of different types of land. There are different countries, cities, people, languages, and products. There's a huge desert in Africa called the Sahara. That's this picture that's right below me here. There are rainforests in Africa and even the waterfalls. Africa is different in the north and the south. It is mostly hot. Can you feel the temperature difference? I sure can. Here are some pictures from my trip to Africa. And you can see, look how different these houses look. This one is actually called a hut, but one of my friends actually lived there. And here is kind of what a market or a store looked like. And my handsome pirates know that I'm a big Steelers football fan. And I was so excited that in Africa, there was a Steelers symbol. You see it right up here? Even in Africa. So I was pretty excited about that. But this looks a lot different from Chicago, right? I think so too. This is a picture of a school in Africa. Doesn't it look way different than our school? I know we haven't been there in a while, but definitely looks different to me. And then in this other picture, that's what a teacher's house looks like. I've been to a few of your teachers' houses and none of them look like this. You can see the outside looks different and they're even hanging their laundry outside. Pretty different. There's a lot of really cool places. This tree is so big. That's one in Africa. Then they have these really big sand dunes. And that's me. We had to climb up to the top. So crazy, but that's all big sand that's underneath it. The sunset is absolutely beautiful in Africa. And doing laundry was a lot different when I was there. They didn't have washing machines like we do here. We had to hand wash our laundry. They had these big tubs and we had to scrub them. That's how we did our laundry. And we had to hang them outside like you kind of saw in that other picture. Let me tell you about the food. That's my other favorite thing about traveling, and it was delicious. This, you can see, they still had French fries, and this was some calamari and rice. Ooh, so good. This was some fish curry, and then in Africa, they still have sandwiches, but look how big that sandwich is, right? That's my friend Jesse. He was the one that I got to go visit when I was in Africa. The food was so good. You'll have to go in and try it sometime. So, what did you learn about Africa today? I hope you learned something. There's definitely a lot of differences between Africa and here in Chicago, right? So that's what you're going to get ready to write. So you should have 2 sentences for today. This one you should start with, today I learned that in Africa, and write down what you learned. As usual, take your picture, send it to your teachers, and I can't wait to hear what you learned about our 2 trips today. And then remember, right after this, you can listen to the Cinderella story, Mufara's Beautiful Daughters, and make your connections with Cinderella story elements. Keep those bags packed though, get some rest, because we're going to 2 new places tomorrow. See you there.